Welcome to the From Imposter to Empowered podcast. I'm your host, Jill Perrick, mindset coach and imposter syndrome expert, and I'm here to tell you that imposter syndrome isn't a life sentence. It's just a dysfunctional way of thinking. If you feel like your ideas are unoriginal, that your message isn't necessary or important, or like you're a complete and total fraud, then you've come to the right place. Time to kick your inner imposter to the curb and create life-changing results for you and your clients. Let's get started. Hello, my beautiful listeners. Welcome back to the From Imposter to Empowered podcast. I'm your host, Jill Perrick, and I am an imposter syndrome expert and mindset coach. And did you guys hear the fun little announcement that we had earlier? It's not little at all. It's actually fucking humongous. But we are changing the From Imposter to Empowered program to the Worthy Woman Method. And the Worthy Woman Method, guys, it's a lifetime access group coaching program. So once you're in for life. You are in for life. You get weekly group coaching with moi and other co-coaches that I will be hiring in the near future. You get access to an amazing community of other worthy women who are also entrepreneurs, doing the damn thing and increasing their income and making their dreams happen. And you get an inside look at your brain every single week. And I don't know what sounds more fun, the girl gang that you're going to have, or the fact that you are going to constantly be able to shine a flashlight on all your pesky little negative thoughts or unhelpful thoughts that will actually help you release them and create better, more empowered thoughts that will move your business forward. There's no getting caught in self-sabotage in the Worthy Woman Method because you will constantly be able to check yourself and constantly be able to move forward in a more empowered way. And everything trickles down from your identity. Everything trickles down from the thoughts that you're having about yourself and your business. And if you do not keep a close eye on that, it can lead to self-sabotage because your thoughts create your actions and your behavior, which creates your results. So if you're not seeing the results that you want in your online business, it is 99.9% attributed to the thoughts that you're having about yourself, about your audience, about your clients, about business, about your family, about anything that is contributing to you feeling a certain way, which is then impacting your behavior and again, therefore your results. So the Worthy Woman Method right now, the waitlist is open. We are opening enrollment on the 10th of May. When you're listening to this, it's coming up, but the waitlist currently is open, so you can go and jump on the waitlist at the link in my show notes. Get your butt on there because then you'll get to read all the deets and all about it. And then if you choose to join, which I don't know why you wouldn't, you would be on the waitlist. You get an email, you get the application, all that good stuff, or you can directly apply on the 10th of May. There's so many options. I'm going to be over on Instagram, hanging out, talking about it constantly because I'm obsessed with it. There's going to be so many fun surprises, and this is only one of two ways to work with me. So there's private coaching, which is a 5-month container with me, high level, or there's the Worthy Woman Method. So again, link in show notes for that. So this is something that a lot of people talk to me about. This is something that I really had to work through, but I just want to say that it's okay that your friends and your family don't understand your business. If I were to think about how this has impacted me, I would constantly feel like an imposter because of the thoughts that I was having about my friends and my family. So let me kind of rewind to even as early as last year. I would constantly want to bring up stuff about my business to receive the validation from my family or friends that I was doing the right thing. So I would be like, oh yeah, so this is happening in my business. Isn't that cool? And they'd kind of be like, yeah, that's cool. Or if it was my dad, he would be like, oh, well, is it sustainable? You know, all that good stuff that our friends and family think. And I used to get really nervous about it and get really anxious because I used to think, God, is what I'm doing the right thing? Am I really putting myself out there and doing anything that's going to be able to sustain me and sustain my family? This is a part of the reason why I really had to do a lot of work around my full-time job, just because there were other reasons at play as to why I haven't left yet, even though I totally could right now. There are so many different things that were at play, and I would constantly lean on the full-time job as reassurance for my friends and family. I'd be like, oh, but don't worry, I still have the OPP. I still have still have my full-time job. I was looking for their validation and their support, but what I realized was I needed to get my brain behind why it's okay that they don't understand. And I hear this a lot from people who don't do a ton of thought work, is they think that their friends and family are the problem. It's not your friends and family. They are not the problem. Your thoughts are the problem. What you're thinking about what they're saying is the problem, because you could be so confident in your business, have so much trust in yourself, feel so good about everything. And if your Aunt Barbara were to come up and say, "What the fuck are you doing online?" you'd be like, you would just laugh it off. You'd be like, "Oh, she just doesn't get it." And that's okay. But if you were somebody who was deeply triggered by something like that, if you felt really insecure about your business, you weren't sure where you were going, you didn't have any trust in yourself, you didn't know if your business was going to be successful or not, you beat yourself up all the time, her saying that may send you into a fucking tailspin. I know it used to do that for me as well. So let's talk about a couple of points as to why it's okay that your friends and your family or anyone else in your personal life don't understand your online business. So the first thing is you just want them to love you. We as human beings, we crave belonging. We crave love. We need those things to help push us forward. We crave being in a group. We crave belonging. We crave love from other people. They have done very unethical research studies with babies who didn't receive touch and love, and they literally died, because we as human beings, we need that connection, we need that love. So whenever you feel afraid or feel nervous or anxious whenever thinking about your business or even talking about it with your family or your friends, it's because you're afraid that they don't love you if they are expressing their discontent or their disapproval or whatever when it comes to your online business. Or even if they're just asking questions because they're curious, you could hear their tone and think like, oh, they're being condescending, or oh, they think it's stupid. And at the core of that, it's because you just want them to love you. But can I offer you this? Somebody doesn't have to understand you to love you. Like, let's just think about your grandparents, okay? When I talk to my grandparents, they don't understand half the shit that I'm doing. They don't understand half the things. And like, I'm not even talking about business. I'm talking about like my full-time job. I'll explain something to them and they literally have no idea. They're just gonna like smile and nod. You know what I mean? Like, they don't understand. They don't get it, especially my online business. But let's use the example of my granddad. So my granddad is an elderly East Indian man. He is 87 years old as of last month. He has beautiful East Indian skin. He literally has no wrinkles. He looks amazing. He's healthy as a horse. I just love him so much. There's a little bit of misogyny rooted in there, but it's from his East Indian culture, and you know what? I really push back against it, and he thinks it's hilarious. So it's actually a quite interesting dynamic at the dinner table, like during holidays. It's hilarious. Anyways, he has never understood what I did, but he is so proud of me. He literally tells me all the time. He cried one time when he was saying how happy he was that I was a businesswoman, because he's a businessman and he grew his business and everything, and that fucked me up, because like, I hate seeing people cry in general, but seeing a man cry and seeing my grandfather cry, oh my god, it fucked me up for like weeks. I was like, no granddad, don't cry. But anyways, he is so proud of me, and he doesn't understand a thing about my online business, but he just knows I have a business. So we all need to embody George Perec energy. His real name is Muhammad, but when he went to England, changed it to George for the English speaking people, and it just stuck. So we all need to embody George Perec, okay? He is showing me that unconditional love despite not understanding. He can love me despite not understanding what the fuck it is that I'm doing when it comes to my business. And I want you to embody that energy whenever you think of anybody in your life that doesn't understand your business. They don't need to understand in order to love you. Somebody can love you so much and not understand what you're doing. I love my fiance more than anything in the world. I don't fucking understand his streaming shit. I don't understand anything about Twitch or how it works or whatever. I don't care. Like, I really could give two fucks. I'm so glad he enjoys it. But I don't need to understand what he does to love him. It's the same with any job. If you were to think about your dad's job, your mom's job, your grandma's job, your sister's job, even your friends' jobs, like, even if they talk about it, it's not that you don't believe in them or that, like, you don't love them. You just don't understand. But understanding is not a requirement for love. There are a lot of different people in this world who are going to do things that you don't necessarily understand, but that doesn't stop you from liking them or loving them. They're just doing something for their own life that you don't necessarily understand. So I want you to separate those two, because that's something that I really have to work on a lot with my clients, is like, why is it a requirement for somebody in your life to understand in order for them to love you? Or why is it a requirement for them to understand what you're doing for you to move forward in your business? Like, think about that. Imagine when you were a small child and your dad used to come home each day from his job. Imagine him trying to explain his job to you. Imagine that. You would sit there and be like, wow, I'm really fucking bored. And also, I don't get it. But that doesn't stop you from loving him. And that doesn't mean that he should stop doing it. It doesn't mean he should quit his job. He's not going to stop doing it because his kid or his wife don't understand. He's just going to continue to go to work, and he'll try to explain it to you. It's like when my dad tries to explain stocks to me. I'm like, okay, like, I hear you, but like, I'm going to probably just like watch a YouTube video on this because they're probably going to explain it a lot better. Once he taught me how to ski, and it was the worst thing of my life. It was literally on a mountain in Banff, Alberta. It was the first time I had ever put on downhill skis in my life. I was 12 years old, and my dad was the instructor, and he operates from a place of his understanding instead of a beginner's understanding. So him explaining stocks to me is like when he tried to explain skiing to me. It didn't really work out. Anyways, don't worry, I don't have trauma from that at all. Regardless, I don't need to understand my dad's job or my fiance's job or my sister's job or my mom's job or my brother's job or anything like that in order for me to love them. And I don't have to understand their jobs in order for them to continue doing it. So I just want you to sit with that. Another thing is, you literally have to realize that their fear isn't your problem. So if you're listening to this and you're like, yeah, Jill, okay, yeah, they don't have to understand, but what if they're afraid? What if they're like, I don't know if you should be doing this. Oh, wait, it's not stable. It's not sufficient. And it gives off the vibe that they don't believe in you. But their fear isn't your problem. The fear that they have about your business is not your issue unless you take it on as your issue. Because remember, as a human being, you have your own set of experiences and beliefs and thoughts. A wide range of them were adopted from your earliest environment and the people in that environment. So if you have these people in your life, let's say again, for example, your dad and your mom, your sister and brother, super fucking basic, you grew up around them, and that means that your family probably has the same set of thoughts and beliefs because you all grew up in the same environment, right? So you may hear something like, I don't know if this is a stable job from your dad, and you may take that on and think, this is my fear. Oh my God, he's right. It isn't a stable job. But you also have to realize that everybody is coming at it with their own set of thoughts and beliefs. And I am of the belief that a thought is literally just an optional choice. And that is because everybody has a different set of beliefs and thoughts. I think very differently than somebody who grew up very wealthy. I was definitely like privileged, middle class, but like I wouldn't necessarily say that I was super wealthy, but I have different thoughts than somebody who was super wealthy, and I have different thoughts than somebody who grew up in a more less privileged situation, right? And that is literally just environment alone and the people around me and what was happening around me. And that had an impact on my behavior and my thoughts. And that is why I truly believe you can change anything you want inside your brain. You just have to give it enough evidence. You have to work through why you have those thoughts. And the same thing goes for this fear that you may think that you have to impart on yourself based on what the people around you are thinking or feeling. So is it rational that your dad is like, hey, this isn't a stable job? Well, then we have to look at what's stable. We also have to look at, our parents' generation are the generation that started those stable jobs that were told, yep, you need to get in a job and work for 30 years. That was very normal. You work towards retirement. But our world is changing now. There is the online world. There are so many different opportunities. You can literally become and do anything that you want. And we're also not working on the premise of you just need to work until you die, or you just need to do a job that you don't necessarily enjoy. We are more so looking into self-actualization and long-term happiness and enjoying your life now instead of working towards retirement, which you should for sure still have like retirement savings and all that jazz. But like, that's not why we're here, and that's not why you're listening to this podcast. You can release the fear by realizing that it's not yours. And you probably, if you are a human that listens to this podcast, I'm sure you are the type of person who takes on a lot of other people's emotions. So you take them on and you see them as a responsibility, but it's not your responsibility to take on your parents' fear or your sister's fear or your brother's fear or your friend's fear, because they're looking at it with their brain. And you did not become an entrepreneur to look at somebody else's brain and think, that's how I think. You think for yourself. You think for yourself, you act for yourself, you create results for yourself that are going to be different than the results that your parents created. And another thing is, do you want to have your parents' life? And if you want to have your parents' life, of course, do all the things that they say. If you want to have the same life as your friend or thoughts as your friend, then of course, listen to what they're saying and take it in and really think about it. But the thing is you want to create different results in your life, right? You want to create different results than your parents or the rest of your family or whatever. And you can't do that if you're taking on their emotions, including fear. You can't do that if you are listening to them and thinking, yep, you're right, like I should be afraid, like what about the stability? Of course you can think about, okay, how can I create this business to be stable and consistent for myself? But that's a whole other line of thinking. That's not sitting in fear and letting the fear overtake you and then deciding that the things that your parents or your family or your friends are saying to you are your ultimate truth. And then we talked for a second about this with that last point, but you have to think differently than to get different results. You have to do and think and act differently if you are going to create different results in your life than the people around you. And that is not a knock at anybody else's life. Like, they have the life that they created for themselves, or they are in a life where they feel like they don't have any control over it. And in this community, that is never to shame anybody, but I know that when I started changing my thoughts and changing the way I felt and working within the confines of what I could do, because I still work in this organization. I was around so many people who thought so negatively and they always thought inside a box. And it wasn't until I came into this online community and I had the very same skepticism when it came to changing your thoughts. I was like, oh my God, this person is saying that you can just change your thoughts, change your life. I thought it was bullshit. I was like, there's no way. I scoffed on mindset, like whatever. But I actually realized that when you went all in and believed that for yourself, you could change the way you react to people. You could change the way that you felt and change the way that you thought to create the results that you wanted. And I wholeheartedly believe that now, and I know that this community does as well, but there are going to be people in your life that don't necessarily think that, and that's okay. You can't change anybody. The most impactful thing you can do is change your life, and the people who want to come with you on that journey will. And the people that want to stay stuck in their fear, they may try to impart that on you, but you just have to realize that when you stand in your own power and feel really good about yourself and your business and trust yourself, it won't impact you half as much. And again, you don't want to create the same results as them. And that's why it's so fucking important to have a community around you, not even just like going on Instagram and seeing other people, like literally integrating yourself into community where people are thinking the same things as you. They're thinking about their business and thinking about thought work and thinking about how they can improve their lives and create generational wealth and lead a different path than the one that was either set out for you or the one that you see that your friends and your family and the other people around you have created for themselves. You know what I mean? Again, and that is never to shame anybody. Like, we need people for everything. But you listening to this podcast, you are choosing a different life than what you're accustomed to, unless when you look online. So when you look online, you see this different life, you get a taste of it, and you're like, oh my God, like, I really want this, versus your real life situation, which may not be like it is online. And again, that's why it's so important to integrate yourself into an actual community, to get in the room and be around other people who aren't thinking normally. They're not thinking normally in quotations. They are doing the damn thing. They're achieving the results that you want to create for yourself. And that is what we do in the Worthy Woman Method. And that's why I was so excited to create this community, was the fact that I was able to achieve the result that I have thus far, like creating $12,000 in 2019 to $130,000 in 2020, because I joined group coaching programs and because I joined communities, because I got in the room with coaches and people who thought in the same way as me, who were working towards results that I wanted to create, instead of just putting myself in a room with like my dad or my friends who have a different way of thinking than me and that are creating different results than what I want. And that's why the Worthy Woman Method is so powerful. And that's why whenever I facilitate a group coaching program, it's fucking epic, because you literally change your thoughts based on the other people around you. You assimilate into the culture. You assimilate and you normalize this life that you want for yourself. You normalize it. And when your brain normalizes something, it fucking wants it. It says, yes, this is possible for me. And possibility is going to set you free. So I love you guys. The Worthy Woman Method is open for the waitlist, but enrollment is opening on May 10th. So catch me over on Instagram at YourCoachJill to check all Worthy Woman Method stuff out. And you can also go to the link in my show notes and check out the Work With Me link, where you will find the link to the waitlist. Talk to you guys later. Thanks so much for listening to the From Imposter to Empowered podcast. Check out the show notes to get started on your free 3-day challenge to overcome your inner imposter. Once you're done listening today, screenshot this episode and share it to your Instagram story, tagging me at YourCoachJill so I can share it on my page. See you next time.